Hello everyone, this is Dragon Videos. I hope y'all are doing well. So season 3 happened, and while we're still doing that painful wait of having the second episode come in, I thought it'd be best to go through another Owl House video as of right now. So for this video, I decided to do a revamp on one of my old lists. Basically, the top 10 hated Owl House characters. Many of you will be wondering why we want to do that. Well, after just seeing the show being updated, I thought to do the same for my list. Basically recapping all of the characters in the show that were pretty hateful and vile. Bear in mind, I will be excluding Lilith in this one, because I'm pretty sure she's been beaten to death with all this, as well as, like, she's not as hated as much. Same goes for Foodie. But bear in mind, these are just my opinions alone of these characters, and there can be some spoilers. So without further ado, let's get started on this crazy, hateful list and get your boxing gloves ready. Yeah, she's moved further back on this list from my last one, mostly because, well, Bosch is just one of your stereotypical mean girls. She was practically merciless with Willow and the gang until finally Luz, Amity, and Willow finally put their foot down and faced her off and wing it like witches, which definitely gave her a big old piece of humble pie that she needed. But she was definitely relentless and very pathetic. And she even gets more pathetic in season 2, practically bashing on Luz and Amity's relationship, as well as getting into their faces, but her bullying doesn't have as much bite than it did in season 1. So I put her further up on this list because she is just more annoying than she is of something of a more hateful character. But I thought to include her in there anyway because, again, she's still that one piece of character that we are much happier to have go without on the screen. Like, she could have had some character growth, but no, she still had to be flat out annoying. Another character returns, ladies and gentlemen. Tibbles was also a minor character in this show. He first appeared in Hootie's Moving Castle as a provider for the elixir that kept Ida's curse at bay. But my god, is he hard to bargain with when it comes to Marty. He's insanely greedy and pretty much petty. He practically created the circus just to lure Luz, Gus, and Willow and tried to shrink them down as payback for destroying his night market stall. Well, let's face it, he kind of deserved it after almost sending Ida to the Reformatorian, as well as trying to force King into a baby outfit. And to make matters worse, he is now above scamming other people in order to get what he wants. And just when you thought Basha was pathetic, he definitely tops it all off. He definitely is a bit more of a bully in this show, as well as the biggest reason why I'm putting him in there is because
dramatic discovery.
Operator, could you send someone to kick his ass for me, please? Thank you, Amity, for illustrating how we're all feeling right now. All the teachers in Hexside, he's the worst. Professor Homunculus always seems to criticize his students, constantly criticizing their works, bashing them around, and never giving a phrase or maybe, I don't know, a tip of how to improve. He just seems to want to give nothing more than homework every time he gets. Even he goes as far as picking on Willow. He also has a horrible tendency of playing favorites. In I Was a Teenage Abomination, he always favored Amity, but when he saw improvement in Willow, or quote-unquote possible improvement, he took the reward without giving any praise or just talking to Amity in a positive way. I mean, even this guy just looks passably lazy. I don't know if his legs are physically disabled or he's too just damn lazy to walk. I mean, come on. I know abominations are good for many things, but isn't that a bit much? To make matters worse, he goes as far as sabotaging any chance of winning for the Emerald Entrails, especially denying Willow the chance of forming a team, all because he just didn't like quitters in his classroom. Seriously, man, grow up. It's also because of this, it was part of Willow's struggle, which he had to deal with even then. So, yeah, this guy just sucks in so many ways as a teacher. I mean, Principal Bump, do us all a favor and fire this guy. He just doesn't know how to treat his students right. And I'm even not even convinced he even knows of how to handle abominations. Please, just get Darius over here so we don't have to look at him anymore in the next end of Season 3. Thank you. He didn't have a whole lot of screen time, but there are several reasons to hate Warden Wrath. One of them is that he has a tendency to bully people that are weaker than him. The reason why I say that is because he was able to take down Ida when she was distracted. Without his mask, he is pretty fearsome with flexible limbs and fire-breathing power. You'd think he'd be a hard main villain in the pilot, but over time he became very pathetic, and as if he wasn't hateable enough, here's what happens next.
To go out with me.
What? Go, boy!
Stalking much? He would always expect everything to go his way, and if he receives the word no, he will practically take down anyone. Though his reasonings are always so flawed beyond belief. He even picks on the prisoners, as I mentioned before, for no apparent reason. On top of that, he has a kid, and he's stealing a co-worker's lunch. Father of the Year, ladies and gentlemen. It makes you wonder of how Praxis was able to survive in this world as long as he had. So yeah, basically in a nutshell, Warden Wrath is nothing more than a school bully trapped inside a horrific body that belongs into some sort of Lovecraft horror flick. But there are still more hateable nuisances to come. If you think Ronaldo Fryman from Steven Universe is bad, this guy is 4 times worse. If some of you had seen my predictions for Season 2B episode, you'd understand why I was, well, have a look.
witches and demons are real. And they're all sent from Mars to harvest human teeth to power their time machine.
Yeah, aside from having very crappy knowledge about the demon realm and witches in general, it's painfully obvious that he's not above to torturing poor Bee and forcing her into some form of trauma, and he's nothing more than a glorified attention getter, wanting nothing more than some fame and fortune out of a deal. Yeah, so thankfully though, Camila managed to step in and knock some sense into him. Though apparently at season 3 it was harder to really convince him otherwise that he was wrong about witches and demons, and thus he still got more annoying by then in thanks to them. We didn't see too much, but the level of annoyance he just gives off, and the reason why I call him Ronaldo Fryman or relatable to it is because his facts are almost straight to the point that leads us into another possible theory about Philip and Caleb, which was later revealed later on. However, the biggest thing that made us very happy is that he was fired from his workplace. Yeah, apparently he never learned his lesson from the beatdown and wanted to do more edits to the exhibit, much to everyone's dismay, and the fandoms as well. So yeah, he was tossed in my honorable mention in my previous list because Bump was very much a stickler to rules. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but he seemed more keen of the money more than the actual students at the time. Basin redeemed himself in season 2, even going about as going against the Emperor's Coven in hopes of saving Augustus from a horrible fate, and of course, actually standing up to them when they invade the school, without his permission, of course. So, in a lot of ways, Principal Bump has some redeeming qualities, as well as a very nice fictional teacher. He's not Dumbledore, but he has his positives. Unlike one of our contestants who is a literal pain in the neck.
Detention, suspension. Principal Faust, don't you...
I don't know what hurts more, my neck or my ears. Just hearing the snapping of Principal Faust's neck is enough to put anyone into the hospital, let alone feel like you want to put an ice pack in whatever spot is possible. So anyway, Principal Faust is a very manipulative character, wanting nothing more than to screw around with Edelin as well as his assistant Principal Bump. So in a lot of ways, this dude has a lot of issues. He's a perfectionist and really bends out of shape whenever a student does the littlest things. It is pretty annoying. Like, chewing too loudly, seriously, that's the reason why you expelled someone, or squeaky shoes? My god, this is nuts. I'm fully convinced at this point that this awful principal, as well as an awful creature in general, is practically Warden Raph's father at this point. I mean, their personalities are almost similar, as well as their jaw shape. Yeah, this guy is probably the worst of all the bad fictional teachers in existence. Okay, he's going to be a droid to talk about. Adrian Gray is one of the head witches of the Coven system. Technically, he's the head of the Illusion Covens, but the thing is, he's a bit of an egomaniac. He would always treat everything like it's a big old movie set. Just check his latest debut in Labyrinth Runners.
The illusion.
Just cut. All right. Come along now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure many of the fandom figured that this guy's nothing more than a glorified movie director, treating his missions as if they're nothing more than something that needs to be put into production at a film industry, even if it means practically putting kids in danger, and doesn't give a damn of anything else.
Talents, but I realized that a true genius can find the art in everything he does, and hey! Hey!
You've done it again, Augustus. You can even tell Willow apart from an illusion.
You, come on, are you listening? This is my monologue. Now, this is...
Give us a break, Adrian. It always seems like he has a lack of empathy, not actually explaining his job to anyone, bragging at his fellow men, that they can't do their job right. Oh, come on, even Michael Bay could give better directions than this guy can. He would always say stuff like, "You need to look inside the note of the note," or "Your production was..." Tell me no one else found that kind of vague in that episode. Luckily he was put in his place, but he was still such an aggravating character to just see on screen. So, ever wondered if there was another version of Poison Ivy you've never seen before? Well, look no further in the Owl House, ladies and gentlemen. Introduce Terra Snapdragon. In her younger days, she definitely was the definition of the powerhouse when she was able to give control to everything. So yeah, she is one hell of a powerhouse through her display of power, which is why she was head of the Plant Coven for years. But let's just say her sanity is not the best. She wants nothing more than to endanger kids, even if it means to show her power. She practically even threatened kids to turn them into mulch, even in the expense that it was illegal. She's practically a very crazy lady. She's pretty impressed with everything and wants nothing more than to keep a sharp eye on everyone and raise them to their abilities. But still doesn't exactly change how dangerous she is.
And creativity. Are you excited? Lovely. Remember, this won't be a bed of roses. Only the best of the best will be rewarded. The failures will be ground into mulch for my garden.
Someone please call the CPS if there is one on the Boiling Isles. I don't feel safe with this one. I don't think any kid would be safe. I feel like any sane parent would want to stay away from this when possible. I mean, what was Belle's thinking of putting her in charge? She is a very powerful woman, not even going as far as protecting herself from something as strong as Ida. She's not, even at her old age, she's still sharp as a tack, which makes her a bit of a dangerous force to be reckoned with. She's observant, she's cruel, and yeah, all forms of crazy. Just stay away from her and probably take a flamethrower or some weed killer if ever possible when you're around her. What would be her redeemable qualities from moving further down on this list? Well, despite how ruthless she isn't as much of a sellout compared to our next candidate on this list.
your tea, help you keep up with the latest trends. And best of all, it will defend you against any unwanted visitors. Mama to mittens. Remember our deal? Make this look good and we'll...
Just shut up. I swear, Odalia Blight loves nothing more than to hear her own voice. So, yeah, just when we thought Lilith was bad, Odalia's 4 times worse. She is practically controlling Amdy's life, even going as far as expelling the trio from school just because they are messing up with Amdy's studies. Right from the get-go, Odalia had been the controlling manipulator, wanting nothing more than to everything to go her way, even if it means expelling Willow from Hexside just so that Amdy can play her sick little game. As a matter of fact, her whole entire family was nothing more than a sick joke to her. She tries to make miniature replicas, not even going as far as letting Amdy have her hair being dyed green just so she could look like her. And to make matters worse, I smell divorce papers. Not only is she a horrible mother to the Blight siblings, but also horrible to her own husband, making him work practically to death. Plus, she betrayed her fellow witches. I'm pretty sure at the end of the day when this series is done, no one will ever talk to her, or they'll probably kill her the moment she appears on their doorstep. Oh man, it's going to get really ugly. Okay, so I'm putting Kikimora in honorable mention. I mean, granted, she has done a lot of awful things in the series, but at least you could have a little bit of sympathy for her because of the hell that she's been through, the pressure she's gotten from her mom, as well as that from the Emperor's Coven. Though she definitely deserved a bit more screen time. And of course, she had pulled some very stupid decisions when she finally had her way out of the deadly situation. And of course, I thought to include the citizens of Gracefield because most of the adults in Luz and Camilla's life have nothing but very rude and condescending bullies. All they've done is look down on Luz and Camilla and put pressure on them for no apparent reason. Apparently, their only crime is Luz just simply existing. She's done nothing wrong up to the recent incidences, mostly because she just wants approval not only from her mom, but also from her own town. Imagine having to live in a whole town that hates you. I mean, seriously, what sort of president threatens your kid by exploiting your own trauma? I mean, it's just heartbreaking to know that when you watch the pilot, you'll never think about what Camilla had said. You just feel so bad for the two and the circumstances that come with it. I know the citizens of Gracefield have a few exceptions like Misha and their friends, but still, it was just something worth mentioning after what had happened thanks to them. Yeah, hi, Ghostbusters? Could you please come over to the boiling aisles? I'm afraid they have a serious ghoul problem. Of course, whenever you ask me to try to update this list, no matter how many times I'll go over this list, Philip Winterbane, aka Emperor Bellows, will always win the #1 spot for so many reasons. In the beginning of the series, he came off as a bit of an ominous figure, which presented rules that excluded those like Ida, those that worshipped wild magic. He used to come off as the human witch hunter named Philip Whitbane, who wanted to go after his brother to stop a witch. Unfortunately, he dabbled into some magic which resulted in him constantly feeding off of palisman just so he could maintain himself and stay alive. Through the use of a collector as well as manipulation, he clawed his way out of the ranks and became the all-powerful and ominous emperor that everyone had known and feared. To make matters worse, he has powers that no witch can possess, manipulating trendles, knowing where everything is. He uses this manipulation to screw others over. His subordinates are nothing more than tools for his game. Hunter is not even above that immunization, even if he was the nephew of Emperor Belos. With each truth that we learned from Belos, we started to hate him more and more. And Mind was no exception. We learned more disturbing things about Emperor Belos and how he used his manipulation and his schemes to win the people over. And of course, at first I thought that the collector was going to be the most unlikable one because of that they were part of a whole draining spell and were eager for a massacre, but as we learned about them being lonely and such, Emperor Belos definitely shot that idea out of the water. And of course, Belos was always one step ahead of everyone, knowing exactly what next move they're going to do and what is going to happen next. It definitely made us feel frustrated as well as feel bad for the heroes who have to put up with his nonsense. And by the time he loses all of his sanity, he becomes the most disturbing monster that the Disney franchise has ever known in a long time. One of the things that also makes him one of the most hateable villains is how he betrays others like Kikimora so easily, as well as the fact that he is not above of tossing the collector, a most powerful being, off a freaking cliff after the collector served his purpose. After all, the collector is a very powerful being, so for Philip to be able to pull that definitely takes a lot of guts. He was even going as far as manipulating Hunter to be the most powerful being ever, and to actually go back to the Boiling Isles for even more darker purposes that we have yet to witness in Season 3. Congratulations, Belos. You've won the spot yet again. So, these are just my thoughts, and I'd like to hear yours. What do you think is the most hated character of all? Remember to do a like and subscribe. This is Dragon Videos, signing off.